If you have between 10 and 200 employees and you're just a small entrepreneurial business, just bring AI into the session room. Happy to chat with anybody.
We switched it to Google Meet pretty early into the growth of the business. And at first it seemed like it was a financial decision. I actually had customers and prospects say, are we really going to be using Google Meet? Kind of sucks. And they're like, are you okay financially? Because we know it comes free with your email.
Yeah, I think one of the ways that we overcome it is by people like you who pioneer gathering data and making it serve us really well. Inform us about who is speaking, how they spoke it, what the demeanor was, or what's the energy in the room, and all kinds of high-level things.
Welcome to Outsource to Profit. I have a fantastic guest. David, do you mind describing what you do, who you serve, and how you help the world?
Yeah, I'm David Hickman. I'm an expert EOS implementer. Some of your audience might be familiar with that. We help clients clarify their vision, gain traction toward that vision, and then work together as a healthy, functional, cohesive team. Recently, I became an author. The book is The Intelligent Business. It's the intersection of where AI and a business operating system meet. EOS is one of those business operating systems.
And if you're listening to this episode, one of the reasons I keep interviewing EOS implementers in the last maybe 10, 15 episodes is they have a bird's eye view of every small to medium business. And they're seeing all the problems that you think that you're having. It turns out that they're repeatable. It's like the same 5, 10 issues keep coming up. And I've implemented EOS across every agency I've ever owned. Highly recommend it. So this episode, when David's running a session with a founder, the power of having an AI buddy, a support agent, or a copilot in the room is so critical. And I'll tell you a quick story. We switched from Zoom when I first launched this agency, Get Levrg. We switched it to Google Meet pretty early into the growth of the business. And at first it seemed like it was a financial decision. And I actually had customers and prospects say, are we really going to be using Google Meet? It kind of sucks. This is 2 years ago. And they're like, are you okay financially? Because we know it comes free with your email. Well, there was a method to the madness, and it was that we had actually already started hiring AI automation, AI specialists, and we started developing prompts to every type of sales conversation that we have. So as an example, I'll go into a first call with a prospect. We'll call that the pre-demo experience. I'm actually able to take that call recording, and we've created prompts that will medic qualify it, that will summarize the notes and auto sweep it into HubSpot. It will do a DISC and a Myers-Briggs profile of everybody that showed up. So there was a method to the madness that there was impossible for me to actually be able to create meeting notes and remember everything that we talked about, or be able to track the sentiment of the call. I'm trying to focus on David here. How would I ever possibly be able to pick up some of those other nuances? So with that, David, you're running a session. I'm the founder that you're helping coach. Can you tell me a little bit about, let's first go to the mindset of AI. Have you ever had any pushback of founders that said, are we really going to bring our little AI buddy into this meeting? What value is it going to serve? And do the founders feel it's intrusive from a privacy standpoint?
Yeah, always privacy and security of our data, of the conversations, even the HR department saying, are we really going to record the things that we're saying behind closed doors? All of these things are legitimate concerns that we have to sort through. But the magnitude of benefit that a company or client or individual company owner receives by recording what goes on in the session room, one that they're in or ones that they're not in, is phenomenal for some of the reasons that you mentioned.
Interesting. Now, how do you overcome those objectives to help a CHRO or a CEO understand the opportunity cost of not being able to pull and read between the lines, or be able to give us recommendations or track next action steps against, a Gantt chart of to-dos far outweighs this data privacy concern. Like, how do you overcome this objection?
Yeah, I think one of the ways that we overcome it is by people like you who pioneer gathering data and making it serve us really well, inform us about who is speaking, how they spoke it, what the demeanor was, or what's the energy in the room, and all kinds of high level things. But I think for your listeners right here, I don't know everybody here, but there's just a lot of resistance to taking even the small step. So if I can just tell you one way that AI helps us in the room, for those of your customers that know EOS, or just think about your, say, quarterly planning, you're talking about issues, you're talking about priorities. There's a lot of discussion that happens in the room. The question is, how do we capture that? If you're like Gino Wickman, founder of EOS, you got a yellow notepad and you go up to a whiteboard and you write down one by one. Oh, what was that, Jamie? Oh, that. Okay, yeah, that. Oh, no, that's not it, Gino. It's this. So I've been doing this for 8 years. So I have a lot of lists. They're patterned around my office right now that you can't see. So if I say, hey, team, Jamie, how would you like it if we didn't have to take time to get the Sharpie out on a list or get the whiteboard marker out and have to write down all of those? Are you serious, David? You could do that? Yeah, we can just have AI listen in and populate a list for us and just save all of that time. Meanwhile, everybody can be leaning in, engaged with each other, and even in their mind, prioritizing or hearing common threads, hear alignment. Wow, that was mentioned 3 times. By the way, AI is saying, oh, these are the 6 people that also mentioned the same issue that you mentioned, Jamie. And so visually and audibly, we can be more engaged and we can see what the real priorities are and what we need to set out our course for our plan for the next quarter.
And I want to double click into a couple of ideas. Like, I love this, that we're getting tactical on ways to use it in a mentor-mentee relationship. You're kind of clicking into something we'll call sentiment. And for the audience listening, you might be hearing this audio in your car as an example. So there's already technology and AI like Gemini. That's why we switched to Google, because I've got a whole Gemini. I create a data lake for every customer, and it's absorbing all of their branding information, all of their customer story information, and it's informing a model. But it can track the words that David and I are using right now called sentiment. Are we excited? Are we nervous? Well, the reason you want to start this process now is where it's moving is reading the physical body language.
Hmm.
So when you're in a meeting presenting, a lot of times you're focused in on what you're saying, or to your point, you're looking at the whiteboard, but you're not tracking the body language of the person that's behind you you've turned your back to. Or when you're presenting, you're not looking down at your computer, seeing the whites of their eyes. Are they engaged in what you're saying? AI is going to be able to tell you, like, did you walk out of this meeting thinking you struck gold, when in actuality their body language showed you they didn't care or they weren't listening? So the sentiment piece is really important. The other is around pre and post meeting preparation and analysis. I'll give you a real tangible example. My company started building AI prompts for a customer. That customer they themselves sell to the global enterprise. They do 8, 9, and 10-figure deals. They build industrial manufacturing plants for customers. Long of the short is, I asked the average sales professional how much time that they take preparing for a call, and it's typically 2 to 3 hours, because all of their customers are huge. So all of their customers primarily are publicly traded companies. With one prompt, it could do a full SWOT analysis of the Form 10K and the 8Q, the public filings. Imagine reading an entire SEC document, and it can summarize strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and what are the roadmap of risks that they're calling out in, like, we did this for Nike. Why is the Nike stock down something like 30%? And it pulled up this list, and it's just like, Gen Z doesn't care about Michael Jordan's, and here's what's happening in their public filings, and they're calling this out. And You can't possibly do this. And so in this relationship, mentor mentee, you could be taking information from previous calls or their company website or their company social media or documents they've given you to analyze. Well, maybe you're doing compounded financial calculations before a meeting so that when you're walking in the room, you're making decisions rather than trying to analyze things in the room. Like it's already done the work for you.
Yeah.
Are there other technical use cases? So sentiment is a big one.
Yeah.
Where else have you been using our AI buddy
Yeah.
to be riding shotgun in meetings together?
Yeah, so the before meeting, definitely the prep, it streamlines, it makes the meeting more effective when you come in prepped. And post meeting, the summary of it, which is also prep for your next meeting, by the way, to see what gets followed up on, that those are pretty clear, and I think everybody's mostly on the same page. In the session room, the magic is in mining not only the sentiment, which is more advanced, that's PhD level AI, maybe not exactly, but you get the point, but even the basics. How many times were people interrupted? How much involvement or domination do some people have in the session room when the wise one is sitting back waiting to be invited in, but they didn't? So why did they only participate 3% of the time? And what can we do to improve that? In EOS, we call the sessions that we do, well, level 10 meetings week on week or quarterly, but we rate them. And one of the reasons that they might not be a 10 on 10 is because not everybody was engaged or not everybody participated, or I think that we're on the wrong track. And AI helps us note a whole lot of things that an expert in that area, like an expert facilitator, an expert finance person, an expert ops person, they may note it. But if we don't do great work in the room, then AI can support doing some analytics either during or especially afterwards to say, how can we get better? How can we make this a 10 on 10 meeting next time? So I think that was a long answer. The short answer is because we can mine what actually happens in the room. Just one more example. It's in setting priorities. We call those rocks. Thank you, Stephen Covey, for that term rocks. If we set a quarterly priority, the method that we do is we prioritize it and somebody owns it. So I take a priority. I come back to the team and tell them the SMART rock, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timeliness of that. It's a really detailed rock. And there's two things that an implementer is asking. Is this a priority for David? And is it SMART? So we're answering that. And often it's not. One, it's not a priority. It goes away. The second is it's not SMART. And what happens dynamically in a really healthy team is, Jamie, you'll help me make my rock SMART. You'll say, hey, Dave, does it include this? What about this? What about that other priority that's so much more important than this one? And we just don't have the time, the bandwidth to sort all that out. So what AI is going to do is it's going to take that conversation about David's rock, all of his friends, colleagues, helping him make it smart. And then afterwards, I can dial in on that and I can craft a rock with all of the wisdom that was in the room. And Jamie, they can go outside of the room and get that wisdom too with AI, but just in the room. And what it does is it helps make the team aligned. They feel seen, they feel heard, because David worked into his rock what I contributed that I thought was important. So there is magic that AI helps us in the room. And it's what I'm trying to champion with my clients and around the world to help teams get aligned and just leverage what's in the room. And then they can work with you and bring in insights that are infinite outside of the room.
And tactically, as we kind of wrap up this episode, are you bringing in the same prompt to just listen and build like the voice of the CEO? Are you using ChatGPT 4.0? Are you using Gemini? Are you doing this through Delphi, where you're trying to build like an avatar of the founder to think like the founder? What are you using?
Yeah, we're just some of my clients that are just, hey, we don't really care about security. It's just a ChatGPT, and it's even just taking the text of what it is. So just transcribe this, put it into ChatGPT, create some lists, and do it. So please do that at least with your non-confidential data. But then there are other LLM ways of layers to protect and secure data so that we're just not offering ChatGPT and the world is learning about the intimate parts of our business. So just capture it, and then work your way up. Use just the text, then move to voice, which has intonation and knows who's contributing and does that. And then I love your video ability too. And by the way, I think Zoom is trying to catch up now.
Yeah.
So don't disparage Zoom too much.
Yeah, I've got too many employees on Google now to switch.
Yeah, you don't have to switch, but just your friends that are on Zoom. But anyway, anything that's video, this is just the beginning, and it's just going to get more robust as we go. So start with the basics, just record what goes on in the session, and let some type of AI, some agentic feature process that. And I'm working. You and I have chatted. I have clients in India, and I spend time in India. So some phenomenal technology companies there that know lots of details about AI that I don't even know. So I'm receiving help to have some product to productize how we record things in the room for companies that are really concerned about the higher level things. But if you have between 10 and 200 employees and you're just a small entrepreneurial business, just bring AI into the session room. Happy to chat with anybody. I'm passionate about this. So just from the basics, and then I'll hand them off to you, Jamie. When I teach them through the basics, I'll hand them off to you to do the graduate level work.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate it. David, thank you so much for being on Outsource to Profits.
Pleasure. Look forward to being here again. Bye-bye.
You take care.